standard marine, or at least standard backpack. Assault marine. And faded 5th assault marine. Just to give you some idea, it's pretty good, and it does move a little bit. So anyway guys, alright, so 9 more to go. Okay, so what you may need when prepping the model, and this is just standard stuff that you guys are probably already familiar with, but you may need it for starting the hole to make sure that your drill goes in straight. Sometimes these help. I'll get to that in a minute. File. Sometimes you might have to reduce the shape, change the shape of a piece, or if you want to have a range of motion when you magnetize, sometimes you have to do a little filing. I don't think we'll have to in this case, but we'll see. And then over here I have various drill bits and pin vices. This pin vise I actually picked up. Oops! I actually picked this up at like Michael's or Hobby Lobby. It's just a one size, and I think it holds a larger bit. Yeah, this one holds a larger bit. Sorry guys. Speaking of bits. Okay. Depending on what size magnets you're using, what you're magnetizing, that's going to determine what size bit you need. But that brings me to the next point here. See if I can do this one-handed. Actually, you know, I'll be right back. What I have here is a sample pack that actually came from a company called Amazingmagnets, and excuse me, very good company. I've had great results with them as far as ordering, getting exactly what I ordered, and they have pretty fast shipping and very good prices. You can get a ton of magnets, probably more than you'll need. I guess for any reasonable project. If you're doing a huge project, you may have to get a lot more, but excuse me guys. This thing inside the container here is a sample pack, and they sent that to me free. I didn't have to ask for it, and it includes some just massive magnets. As you can see, they're huge. Well, for a Warhammer scale, they're huge. But anyway, for what I'm doing today, I'll show you how tiny these are. That is the size of the magnet that I'll be using today for the backpack. These things are very strong, so you have to be careful. If they click together, they will break. Pieces will fracture. I think in Bootleg's one of his recent videos, he showed a pretty good example of what can happen if you let them go. They will fracture apart. I haven't had it happen to me yet, but I've seen it plenty. You'll want to make sure that you have the right size bit for that magnet. One way I usually do it is I'll take the back of the bit and actually stick the magnet to it, and that'll give you some idea if it's the right size. Of course, if you know, and forgive me, I don't remember the sizes on the bits. Let's see here. I think that's the right size. So I'm not going to put this in the pin vise. One thing you'll want to be very conscious of when you're doing this project is polarity. You want to make sure that when you put one magnet into a piece that's going to be magnetized to, like the back of the Marine, you want to make sure, however you go about doing it, that the polarity is correct. One thing you can do is the same thing that I usually do when I'm doing pinning, is I'll mark both sides of the magnet, the sides that go together basically, with a color that's easily recognizable, like red or yellow or something like that. And that gives me a visual cue when I'm gluing it in that this part needs to face outward. So basically I would take the two pieces and then put a drop of paint in between them and then allow them to stick back together. You just don't want to leave them that way because, of course, you know, the paint doesn't have a great deal of adhesion, but it does have some, and might become kind of a problem getting them apart. Anyway, what I'll do is put a drop of paint. Okay, so I just put a drop of paint on that one. Okay. So basically you drill your hole into the back of the marine in this case, or whatever the part may be that you're magnetizing. You don't want to go too deep with it. You just want to make sure that it's deep enough for the magnet. If you go too deep, then you're going to have a problem. You'll have to build the hole back up a little bit, which might require you to use a little piece of sprue or something like that. Just something small enough to get in there and fill that space so you can bring the magnet back up, because you want it to be flush. It can be a little deeper because the magnets are pretty strong, but you don't want it to be too deep, and you don't want it to sit up too high because the pieces won't fit together. And I've done that before, where there's like a gap and it just kind of looks odd with the backpack sticking out too far, or the arm or the head or whatever else it is that you've magnetized. So basically I've gotten the hole in the backpack here, and I've gotten it a little off center. That wasn't intentional. Let's see if you guys can see that. So it's just slightly off center there, and so basically what that's going to mean is when the backpack goes on, depending on whether I can get this off center as well, the backpack might turn slightly. So it'll be a little off kilter, which is okay in this case because it's an assault marine, but I'm actually going to try to make this one off center as well, so that it will marry up pretty well, and I'm going to have to do that on each subsequent piece that I'm adding to this. Otherwise it'll be a little off. I mean, again, that's not too bad on this, but with your standard marines you probably want to make sure that it lines up straight. So now I'm just trying to check to see, you know, it's going to be off a bit, and I just want to make sure what side am I correcting on. So in this case I'm going to be going to the right a little bit, just above this, and that hole is just right above the dowel on the back of the marine, so that's where you're going to want to put it on the backpack. That's the small bit, I need the large bit. Okay. And this part can get tricky because if you don't line it up right, you can get down into that dowel, and that could be a problem. So if it's off slightly, it's okay. Usually the magnets will still hold. Okay, I think that one's going to work out. And this plastic is pretty soft, so you don't really need a pin vise.